Hello students, today we are going to continue with the same chapter that we began in the class before the last class. That is, we started off with the chapter of Ranga's marriage from your book Snapshots. So we had started off this chapter. So before continuing with this chapter, let us recollect what we read in the chapter. So we had read that this chapter is written by Masti Venkatesh Iyengar, and he has written the story about his village of those times. And the first paragraph in the beginning just details about why he just kept the simple title as Ranga's marriage, because the whole chapter revolves around the marriage of Ranga, which you'll come to know when we read the chapter. And then in the first chapter he also mentions about the non-existence of this small village Hosali in the geography texts, and he told that the writers both from England and India don't have any idea that such a village exists, as the British men, when they charted or they framed the map, they forgot to put this place Hosali on the map. And the writer, he just blames our Indian geographers who, like the flock of sheep, followed the same thing, and they did not place this small village Hosali on the, or they did not mark this place on the Indian map. And the writer, he does not blame the cartographers also, and he called them ignorant about the village which finds no place on the maps. Then further, the next paragraph, narrator details about about his village Hosali. He just boasts of his village, and he feels that his village is as important to Mysore state just as Mysore is to India. And he talks with pride about the people living in that village, like Gundbhat, who is the village doctor, and he makes mention of the various wonderful things of his village, like he just talks of, or he just mentions the sourness of Hosali mangoes, and the ever so fine water of the village pond, and the leafy creeper, etc. And he uses the term our village, and also wants the readers to get in touch with him, and if they plan to visit Hosali. And both the narrator and village doctor they talk of the village in glowing terms. Then this story is of those times when very few people, hardly one or two people in the village knew English, and no one ever used the language in speech or in writing. And Kannada, the native language, was not contaminated or invaded with words from English. And but now the time has changed. Now every person in the village knows English, and it is of those time that when only the accountant's son named Ranga was sent to Bangalore for higher studies, and he was the first one to go out from the village to study in some metropolitan city. And then further he says that English has invaded the simplicity and innocence of the local folk. Then the narrator finds the use of English in his village a matter of disgrace, and he mentions about the lady who did not know the meaning of the word change. So, and the narrator himself did not know the meaning of the word change till he asked the meaning from Ranga. Then further, the narrator talks of the villagers of Hosali, and he calls them as simpletons and knave people, very simple people. And he mentions of Gundbhat, the village doctor, who openly expresses his aversion to visit England, and he does not dwell much on the places that he has visited, which according to the narrator are many. And then Ranga's homecoming after completing his studies, Ranga returns back to the village, and then the returning of Ranga was considered as a very big event, and the people flocked to Ranga's house to have a look at him on his return to Hosali, and they were amazed to see the same Ranga amidst them, and they were satisfied that Ranga had not forgotten his culture and caste after moving out to Bangalore. And then the whole flock of people, they melted from there. They just went back home after being satisfied. Then the narrator wanted to know about Rangappa's views on matrimony, because he was very much interested in getting Ranga married. So Ranga's views on matrimony were that he was opposed to traditional approach of arranged marriages. The narrator felt a desire to find a suitable match for educated, generous and considerate Ranga. So, and then Ranga, he just wanted to know about Ranga's views, and when he asked from Ranga, Ranga wished to take his time in finding the right girl, and he feels prospective bride should be somebody who should be mature enough, so that there would be a harmonious compatibility in thoughts and feelings of both the couple. Then Rangappa was opposed to marrying someone quite younger in years, as was traditionally being done in arranged marriages. And according to him, a man should marry a girl he admires, otherwise one should remain a bachelor. And that is why he decided not to hurry into matrimony. Then the narrator, he becomes a matchmaker, and Rangappa drawn towards Ratna. So now we are going to read further that what happens, that how narrator was successful in making a match or in selecting the right girl for Ranga, and whom he selected as a girl for Ranga. So we are going to read further now. So now page number 19, the very last paragraph of the page, we will begin from here, which says, Ramarao's niece, a pretty girl of 11, had come to stay with him. She was from a big town, so she knew how to play the veena and harmonium. She also had a sweet voice. Both her parents had died, and her uncle had brought her home. Ranga was just the boy for her, and she the most suitable bride for him. So in these lines, the narrator says that here in these lines, the narrator introduces us to a new character in the story named Ratna, who is 11 years old and is Ramarao's niece, and she had lost both her parents. So her uncle Ramarao had brought her from the big town to his home with him, and Ratna had a very beautiful voice, had a great voice, and as she lived in a big city, Calcutta, she was from Calcutta, so she could play harmonium and veena. And the narrator thought that Ranga and Ratna would make a great pair. Then further, the narrator says in the next paragraph that since I was a frequent visitor to Ramarao's place, the girl was quite free with me. I completely forgot to mention her name. Ratna it was. The very next morning, I went to their house and told Ramarao's wife, I'll send some buttermilk for you. Ask Ratna to fetch it. Ratna came, and it was a Friday, so she was wearing a grand sari. I told her to sit in my room and requested her to sing a song. I sent for Ranga. While she was singing the song Krishnamurti in front of my eyes, Ranga reached the door. and he stopped at the threshold. Threshold means the strip of wood or stone forming the bottom of the doorway. So you can say it's the entrance. So he did not want the singing to stop, but was curious to see the singer. Carefully he peeped in. The light coming into the room was blocked, and Ratna looked up and seeing a stranger there abruptly stopped. So in this paragraph it is said that Ratna was quite familiar with the narrator as he visited Ramarau's place frequently. Then the narrator thought of a plan to introduce Ratna to Ranga, and he asked Rama to send Ratna to his place as he wanted to send some buttermilk for them. And she came all dressed up in a beautiful sari. Then the narrator insisted upon her to sing a song while at that moment he sent someone to call Ranga, because he wanted Ranga to see Ratna, and he was sure that Ranga would fall in love with Ratna. So just as she was singing, Ranga arrived at the door, and her melancholic voice, beautiful voice, touched his ears, and thus he did not want to interrupt the singing, so he stood at the door. But he was curious to see the singer, and very cautiously he tried to have a look, which disturbed the lighting in the room. And on seeing the stranger, Ratna immediately stopped her singing and ran away from there. Then further, the next paragraph says, suppose you buy the best quality mango and you eat it slowly, savoring its peel before biting into the juicy flesh. You do not want to waste any part of it. Before you take another bite, the fruit slips out of your hand and falls to the ground. How do you feel? Ranga's face showed the same disappointment when the singing stopped. You sent for me, he asked as he came in and sat on a chair. Ratna stood at a distance, her head lowered. Ranga repeatedly glanced at her. Once our eyes met, and he looked very embarrassed, and no one spoke for long while. So in these lines it is said that narrator compares Ranga's situation to the disappointment of dropping a best quality mango on the floor just before having to truly enjoy it. And it was as if something great had been stolen before one could fully enjoy it. Ranga asked the narrator why he called for him, and Ratna was shy and thus looked downwards, whereas Ranga stealthily glanced at her. He was hiding and he was looking at her, and there was an awkward silence in the room now. Then further it is said that it was my coming in that stopped the singing. Let me leave. Words, mere words. The fellow said he would leave, but did not make a move. How can one expect words to match actions in these days of Kaliyug? And Ratna ran inside, overcome by shyness. So in these lines, narrator says that after things went a bit awkward, Ranga said that he feels it was his coming that stopped the singing. So he must leave from there. And however, he did not mean to do it, because he also did not want to leave the place without looking at the girl Ratna. Then the narrator makes fun of him because he had no intention of going. Those words were mere words, but he did not mean to move from there. And he jokes about it and says one cannot expect actions and words to match in the Kaliyug. So he commented on Ranga. Then the next paragraph says, after a while, Ranga asked, who is that girl, Swami? Who is that inside? The lion wanted to know. Now here the lion is Ranga now. The he-goat, who had taken shelter in the temple, replied, "Does it matter who I am? I am a poor animal who has already eaten 9 lions. I have vowed to eat one more. Tell me, are you male or female?" The lion fled the place in fear. "It seems like the he-goat," I said. "What does it matter to either of us who she is? I'm really married and you aren't the marrying kind." So here now Ranga is in a very awkward situation, and the narrator is now wanting to know, or he wanted to find out whether Ranga was really attracted towards that girl. So in this line it is said that after a few minutes of awkward silence, then Ranga finally asked the narrator about the girl. And now the narrator compares the situation with the infamous story of the he-goat and the lion, where he is the he-goat and Ranga is the lion. The narrator replies very cleverly and intends on seeing Ranga's interest in knowing about Ratna. Thus he says that who she is not of that much importance, because now the narrator is already married and Ranga does not intend on marrying anytime soon. He is not in a hurry to marry. So now the narrator is enjoying the curiousness of Ranga. So this clearly shows that Ranga liked the girl Ratna and he had fallen in love with her, and now he wants to inquire about her. And the narrator, he enjoys the situation of Ranga, and then we'll see further what happens. Then the next line says, "Very hopefully he asked." Further, the next line says, "Very hopefully he asked, 'She isn't married then?'" His voice did not betray his excitement, but I knew it was there. She was married a year ago. His face shriveled like a roasted brinjal. After a while, Ranga left, saying, "I must go. I have work at home." I went to our Shastri the next morning and told him, "Keep everything ready to read the stars. I'll come later." I tutored him in all that I wanted him to say. I found no change in Ranga when I met him that afternoon. "What's the matter? You seem to be lost in thought," I said. Nothing's wrong. Believe me, headache. Come, let's go and see a doctor." So first let's see to the meaning of all the hard words in these lines. So in these lines, the word betray means portray, then shriveled means shrunken and wrinkled, especially as a result of loss of moisture, and tutored means taught. Then, so in these lines, it is said that hearing the narrator's reply, Ranga got excited, although he did not show it, but it was quite evident from his words and expression. And full of hope, he asks if she isn't married yet, to which the narrator replies that she is. Now here the narrator is playing a joke, or he just now want to see the condition of Ranga, or he just wanted to know how intently Ranga loved Ratna. So on this, the narrator replies that she is married, and probably she got married a year ago. And these words disappointed Ranga and he got disheartened, and it was clearly all over his face. One can see over his face that it was now shrunken now. He was very much disappointed when he came to know that Ratna was married, and he went away quoting some work, saying that he had some important work at home. Then our narrator, having staged certain liking in the mind of Ranga for Ratna, went on to complete his play now. Now he went to the village Shastri and told him everything that had to be said and done the next day. Then he met Ranga that afternoon, and he carried the same disappointment on his face. And upon asking if it is a headache, the narrator tells him that now they should go to see a doctor. Then further, in the next line, the narrator says, I have a headache. I am my usual self. I went through the same thing when the process of choosing a girl for me was going on. But I don't think that could be a reason for your present condition. Ranga stared at me. Come, let's go and see Shastri, I suggested. We will find out whether Guru and Shani are favorable for you or not. Ranga accompanied me without any protest. And as soon as Shastri saw me, he exclaimed, What a surprise, Shyama! Haven't seen you for a long time. So here the Shyama word is used for the narrator. He is addressed as Shyama in the chapter. So here in these lines, Ranga insists that everything is fine with him and he is his normal self, and narrator very wittily makes a remark that he went through the same feelings when he was seeing girls for himself, and immediately mentions that it could be the reason for Ranga also. Then furthermore, he suggested that they must go to see Shastri to see if the stars, that is Guru for Jupiter and Shani for Saturn, that both the stars are in their favor. Then Ranga went with him. On seeing Shastriji, Ranga also accompanied the narrator without any protest now, because he also wanted to know about Ratna. So on seeing Shastriji, he implied not having seen the narrator in a long while, which is obviously not true. Shastriji just remarked that, what a surprise, Shyama, I haven't seen you for a long time, which was a lie, because Shyama had already met Shastriji few hours back and he only had tutored him, and they had met the same morning. Then further, the next line says, Shyama is none other than your servant, the narrator of this tale. So here now, narrator, he just introduces himself or tells that who Shyama is, and he says that it is none other than the narrator who is telling the tale, that is Masti Venkatesh Iyengar. And further he says, I got angry and shouted, What? Only this morning Shastri completed my sentence. You finished all your work and are now free to visit me. Had he not done so, I would have ruined our plan by bursting like grains that are kept in the sun to dry. So I was extremely careful of what I said afterwards. Shastri turned to Ranga. When did the young son of our accountant clerk come home? What can I do for him? It's very rarely that he visits us. So now in these lines here, the narrator reveals his pet name now, Shyama, as they called him in the village. And the narrator felt that Shastri was lying because they saw each other that morning, and thus he immediately responded. Then however, Shastri completed his sentence and saved the entire situation. Shyama realized what he was just about to do and took extra care from that moment. Then Shastri continued his role and acted surprised on seeing Ranga. So now, and Shastri was doing as he was taught or he was told by the narrator to speak. He was playing that role, he was doing the acting of being surprised on seeing Ranga. Then further, the next line says, take out your paraphernalia. What is paraphernalia here? Trappings associated with a particular institution or the activity that are regarded as superfluous, or in other words you can say that it is the patra, what you call in Hindi. So Rangappa seems to have something on his mind. Can you tell us what's worrying him? Shall we put your science of astrology to the test? There was authority in my voice as I spoke to Shastri, and he took out 2 sheets of paper, some cordis, and a book of Palmyra leaves, saying, "Ours is an ancient science, Aya, and there's a story to it, but I won't tell you what that story now. This is not a Hari Katha which allows you to tell a story within a story. You may get bored. I'll tell it to you some other time." So first see to the hard words now. Paraphernalia we have already discussed. Cauries means a marine mollusk which has a glossy or brightly patterned domed shell with a long narrow opening. Cauries जिसको आप बोलते हो, that is shank, a kind of a shank. Then Palmyra is the palm tree, and Harikatha is the story of Lord. So in these lines, the narrator asks the Shastri to take out all his tools to help solve whatever is going on in Ranga's mind with full authority. Then Shastri took out his essentials, that is, he just took out the patra or paraphernalia, and he took out the cauries. All the Shastris or all the Pandits, they just tell about the future, or tell about the person looking into that patra or putting the cauries on it. Then Shastri took out all his essentials. Essentials are those things only which a Shastri requires, and told them that this is all ancient science, that astrology is the ancient science, but he won't recite it now, that Hari Katha, because then they both would get bored. Both Ranga and narrator would get bored, but he does intend on telling it some other time. Then further, the next line, it is said that Shastri moved his lips as fast as he counted on his fingers, and then asked, "What's your star?" Ranga didn't know. "Never mind," Shastri indicated with a shake of his head. He did some more calculations before saying in a serious tone, "It's about a girl I had seen controlling my laughter all this while. But now I burst out laughing. I turned to Ranga. Exactly what I had said. 'Who is the girl?' It was your humble servant who asked the question." So here in these lines, now Shastri moved his lips while counting quickly and asked Ranga about his stars, which Ranga was not aware of. He did not know his name. Everybody has the name of Janampatri, so he did not know his star or his zodiac sign. So Shastri implied that it's manageable, and he appeared to be doing certain calculations. Then after a moment, he indicated that Ranga has a girl on her mind, and he was doing as he was told to do. And even after trying his best, Shama could not control his laughter, and he thus posed the question to Shastri, asking about the details of the girl. Then further, in the next line, it is said that Shastri thought for a while before replying, "And she probably has the name of something found in the ocean. Kamla. Maybe could it be Pachi moss? Then must it be moss if it's not Kamla? Why not pearl or Ratna, the precious stone? Ratna, the girl in Rama Rao's house is Ratna. Tell me, is there any chance of our negotiations bearing fruit?" "Definitely," he said, after thinking for some time. There was a surprise on Ranga's face and some happiness. "I noticed it, but that girl is married," I said. Then I turned to him. His face had fallen. So now in these lines, Shastri thought and replied that the girl is likely to have a name of something found in the ocean. So now the Shastri is doing the same as he had been tutored or taught by the narrator Shyama. So he just now finds out and he tells that it is about a girl that is bothering Ranga, and then he just find out or tell the detail of the girl, saying that the girl is likely to have a name something that is something found in the ocean. Then their guesses include Kamla, Pachimos, Pearl, and then suddenly Shastri said Ratna. All of it came together now to a girl named Ratna, who is the niece of Ramarao. And that's it. Ranga was thinking about her only. And Ranga was both surprised and happy because Shastri's predictions were right. And he immediately became disappointed when he recalled that she was married. Then further, the next line says, I don't know all that. There may be some other girl who is suitable. I only told you what our Shastra indicated, Shastri said. We left the place. On the way, we passed by Ramarao's house, and Ratna was standing at the door. I went in alone and came out a minute later. So, in these lines, it is said that Shastri, he said that he did not know all that, and there might be some another suitable girl, because as Shastri was told that Ratna was married, Shyama was just playing a joke. So he said that but Ratna is married, so how can it be Ratna? So then Shastri said that he did not know and all about that, and there might be some other suitable girl. And to make it look real, Shastri inferred in her name guessing game and told them that he only told what can be read, what he saw in the Shastra. Then both of them left and crossed Ramarao's door, where Shyama went to see Ratna for a minute, as Ratna was standing at the door only. So the narrator, he went inside to see Ratna for a minute and came back. Then further it is said that surprising, this girl isn't married. It seems someone told me the other day that she was. What Shastri told us has turned out to be true after all. But Rangappa, I can't believe that you have been thinking of her. Swear on the name of Madhavacharya and tell me, is it true what Shastri said? I do not know whether anyone else would have been direct, Ranga admitted. And there's great truth in that Shastra than we imagined, and what he said is absolutely true. So here in these lines, the word Madhavacharya is an exponent of Vedantic philosophy from South India. So in these lines it is said that when narrator he comes back, he announces that fortunately Ratna is not married, and this was known to narrator earlier only, but he acted in front of Ranga, and then he said that someone might have wrongly conveyed it to him because he knew that Ratna was married. But when he went inside, he just came out and told Ranga that Ratna was not married and somebody had told him a lie or conveyed that to him about that only. The narrator then expresses his amazement at the fact that he has been thinking about Ratna and asked him to swear upon the truth. And to his surprise, Ranga told him the truth that whatever Shastri said is true, and his belief in all the Shastras had strengthened now. So now next line says, Shastri was at the well. When I went there that evening, I said, so Shastri Gail, you repeated everything I had taught you without giving rise to any suspicion. What a marvelous Shastra yours is. He didn't like it at all. What are you saying? What you said to me was what I could have found out myself from the Shastras. Don't forget, I developed on the hint you had given me. Tell me, is this what a decent man says? So here in these lines, the word marvelous means causing great wonder, or you can say it's extraordinary. So in these lines it is said that Shyama went to see Shastri that evening when he was near the well, and remarked about how well he did what Shama told him to, that he just acted, Shastri acted in a very remarkable way, marvelous way, and he just did as the narrator told him to do. Then Shastri seemed to not like what the narrator was saying. He did not like that he was not knowing anything about Shastras, and he did whatever was told to him by the narrator. Thus he says that whatever he said could very clearly be seen in the Shastras, and he could have told this even when the narrator had not told him about all these things, and he completely disagreed with having staged the entire conversation. Then further in the next line, it is said that Rangappa had come the other day to invite me for dinner. What's the occasion? I asked. It's Shama's birthday. He is 3. It's not a nice name, Shama said. Then, I'm like a dark piece of oil cake. Why did you have to give that golden child of yours such a name? What a childish couple you are, Ratna and you. I know. It is the English custom of naming the child after someone you like. Your wife is 8 months pregnant now. Who's there to help your mother to cook? My sister has come with her. I went there for dinner. Shyama rushed to me when I walked in and put his arms round my legs. I kissed him on his cheek and placed a ring on his tiny little finger. So now these lines are about Ranga and Ratna after they got married. So now here in these lines the narrator takes us a few years forward, where Ranga and Ratna are happily married, and they had a 3-year-old son, and Ratna was 8 months pregnant, and Ranga's sister had come over to help them, and it was Shyama's birthday. The couple named their son after the narrator, as it is a common foreign tradition to name your child after someone you truly admire. So Ranga and Ratna, they kept their son's name on the narrator, and they kept his name as Shyama. And when the narrator went there for dinner, Shyama, the little boy of Ranga and Ratna, came running to him, only to show his love by holding his leg. And the narrator kissed him and gave him a ring as a gift. Then the last lines, it is said that, allow me to take a leave of you, reader. I am always there, ready to serve you. You were not bored, I hope. So in these lines, the narrator now writes an ending note to all the readers, hoping that they were not bored of the story. So this is all in this chapter. Hope you all have understood this chapter. Now the questions given in the end, the first is, comment on the influence of English, the language and the way of life on Indian life as reflected in the story, and what is the narrator's attitude to English. So for this you can write that the story talks about the influence English language had decades ago in his village, and not many people in the village at that time could understand or talk in English. Only a few courageous people would send their children to study in cities, like the village accountant sent Ranga to Bangalore. And when Ranga came back to the village, everyone was keen on seeing how their culture had transformed him. And as far as culture influence is concerned, the story mentions how Ranga wanted to marry a girl who was mature and someone who understands him and is compatible with him. And this is completely in opposition to the arranged marriages that were widely prevalent in those times. Then you can write, the narrator finds it disgraceful when people mix Kannada language with English, and he recounts how one day a lady delivered firewood to Ramarao's place and he told her to come the next morning because he had no change, and the lady did not know what the word change meant, and she left while muttering to herself. And the narrator confesses that he too did not know what it meant until he asked Ramarao. Then the second question says astrologers' perceptions are based more on hearsay and conjecture than what they learn from the study of the stars. Comment with reference to the story. So for this you can write that the story throws a light upon how Shastri predicted what was going on in Ranga's mind, and he did it using 2 sheets of paper, some caudies and a book of palmyra leaves in the form of his paraphernalia. Then he even revealed that Ranga has some girl on his mind whose name related to something that belonged to the ocean, and this was the same thing as he was taught to speak, and all this made Ranga believe in the power of astrology. And while in reality it was our narrator Shama who had tutored Shastri to say so in a meeting prior to the one with Ranga, and Shastri made it seem like no big deal when Ranga left, and Shama called it his marvelous Shastra, and he said he could have guessed it with his numbers even if Shama had not staged it for him. Stage means it was kind of a play and they were acting in front of Ranga. And then you can say that hence the story portrays astrologers' perceptions to be based more on hearsay and conjecture than what they learn from the stars. Third question. Indian society has moved a long way from the way the marriage is arranged in the story discussed. So here for this you can write that it is true that Indian society has moved a long way from the way the marriages is arranged in the story. Earlier there was no concept of love marriage and only arranged marriages took place like the one being talked about in the story. Ranga's marriage was arranged by his uncle Shama, and in present times the bride and groom have a say in the matter, unlike decades ago where even their consent was not considered important. And our society has come a long way since then, especially when it comes to the rights of females. And earlier the bride's families were pressurized into paying dowry, which has been illegalized now. And it is also against the law to marry individuals who have not yet attained a specific age of 18 in case of girls and 21 in the case of boys. Then the fourth question, what kind of a person do you think the narrator is? So you can write for this that the narrator is a man of his land and he introduces his village with such enthusiasm that every reader would like to visit it at least once. And his hospitality can also be appreciated as he promises to take good care of his readers. And he is someone who believes in maintaining the authenticity of his culture. That is why he thinks it's a disgrace to mix Kannada with English. And we can say that he is a man with good judgment of character, and he knew what type of man Ranga was, and that Ramarao's niece Ratna would be a perfect partner for him. And Shama seemed like someone who knows how to make his own way, and he is a matchmaker. And the whole setup he staged with the village Shastri in order to get Ranga and Ratna married pose as evidence for that. And he is also funny by the way of which he teased the village Shastri. Although clever, he seems to be a man of best intentions at heart. So this is all in the chapter today. Hope you all have understood it, and you can write the answers by whatever has been discussed right now. Thank you and goodbye.